Oh.
Say, will you quit sleeping and get to work on that car?
I ain't sleeping, I'm thinking.
Yeah, well, think on your own time, will you?
Okay.
Don't forget that's a 2 o'clock delivery, promise.
That's easy. I'll have it ready for testing inside of an hour.
Well, see that you don't forget. Oh, just. Here's the ticket on that card that Jack has out there.
Okay, Mr. Peck. Oh, say, come here. I want you to check up on something, will you?
Nuts with it.
Hey, don't be breaking up the customer's car. Say, what's eating you anyway?
For all that work, the damn brakes are no good. They show up no good on the tester and the same thing on the road. Got a hard pedal, like pushing up against a stone wall. I think that big cluck gave me the wrong lining.
You think? What with? I give you the right lining.
You don't even know what kind of a lining the job takes. You ought to be fixing go-karts. That's where you belong.
Oh, yeah? If you knew how to handle the job, you wouldn't have had all that trouble.
Says you. I put in what you give me. Listen, do you know what kind of a lining goes on that car?
Yeah, and so would you if you had sense enough to learn anything.
Well, if I ain't got more sense...
Now, don't try to argue with me, you fool.
Cut it. You two fellas spend more time bargaining over a brake job than you do fixing it. Take it off, Jack. We'll start all over again. Seems that's all we do around here of late.
How are you, Mr. Peck?
Oh, all right, I guess.
Got anything in your want book that I could take care of?
No, I don't need a thing. Wrap around.
Say, son.
Who, me?
Yes, you.
Well, sir, what can I do for you?
Say, these brakes are still terrible.
You can't adjust these brakes any better. I told you before, you'll have to have them relined.
How are your Ford fan belts? Say, I can give you a great buy on those.
Say, listen, I've got all I want. It's coming from a...
Gaskets, spark plugs, nothing in my line at all. Huh?
I'm all stocked up. Please don't bother me. I'm very busy.
All right, see you next week. So long, Mr. Peck.
But if I'm going to have to do that, I got your price beat.
By how much?
$3. I can use that $3 as well as you can. If you can't do it for that, I'll get it somewhere else.
Well, you see, sir, you can buy a brake lining job for most any price you want to pay. Now, if you want a good job, one that'll last, and give you safe braking all the time, we've got to pay for it. Now, we use only the best materials, like this. Now, there's a dependable, durable lining. It costs more, but it's worth more.
Well, the lining the other fellow showed me looked the same as this.
Well, it might have looked like it, but I doubt if it was the same.
And that's what you say. But it looked the same to me. Good day.
Boy, if his brakes were as tight as he is, he'd never have to have them relined.
Well, I don't know. It can't always be the customer.
How do you do, Mr. Peck? Jenkins of Dow Brothers.
Say, haven't you fellas anything to do except bother me? Come around next week. I don't need a thing.
I don't want to bother you, Mr. Peck, but I have an idea that I think you might like to hear. It's been making money for other shops.
Oh, yeah? Well, it must be a printing machine from the mint.
I wouldn't say that exactly. It's a way to build up a better business and a lot better profit on brake service.
Brake service? Profit on brake service? Now, let me tell you something about this brake lining business. Damn it, if you try to charge enough to do a good job, they go somewhere else. And when you do get a job to do, there's too much guesswork about getting on the right lining. Miss your guess, and you've got the job to do all over again. Say, you picked a swell time to talk brake lining to me. Why, when you came in here, I was just wondering whether we were making enough money on brake service to be worth all the headaches.
You're dead right, Mr. Peck. You put your finger on the two big troubles in all brake lining jobs. With your present setup, you do have two big headaches.
You bet.
First of all, with the various types of brakes today, no two mechanics agree on the right lining for any job. And secondly, it's hard to get the price of a good job.
Well, that's just it. And between the two, you're in hot water all the time.
Yet if I could give you the answers to these two big troubles, you'd consider brake service one of the most profitable departments of your business.
Yes, it should be. And if I could get over those two big hurdles, price and installation troubles, I'd feature brake service like nobody's business.
Yet the answer is possible.
Yeah?
I think I can help you. Take a look at this.
What, these? Say, listen, son. Don't try to tell me that's the answer. Why, I sold box sets 5 years ago.
Sure you did. But that was an entirely different thing. Why, to carry a complete stock, you needed a box for every model of every car. More than 150 boxes. A regular shoe store. Inventory costs alone were enough to kill that idea. But on the other hand, with these PG interchangeable sets, you have a stock that practically covers every internal brake job, including Ford, Chevrolet, and Plymouth, with only 32 sets. Here, let me show you something. Take a look at that. With that cabinet assortment, you cut your present inventory way down, so that you not only save valuable space, but you save real money on present inventory. That means profits to you.
Well, that's not a bad-looking display. Yeah, it might cut inventory some, too. But as I told you, that's not one of my chief worries.
Right. What you're interested in is getting the right type of lining with the right characteristics, right size, every time.
Oh, that would help.
Mr. Peck, in the last few years, there have been some tremendously important discoveries as to what makes perfect braking.
Yeah?
Engineers discovered that the type of lining which worked on one system might be all wrong for another. But the type which gave the best results on a rear wheel might not give the same results on the front. But the action of each shoe in a brake is different, so that each shoe may need a different type, a different characteristic of lining. How are you going to find out what's right?
Well, that's just it. You can't find out what's right.
PG found out.
Really?
By running hundreds of tests over thousands of miles on the proving ground and in the laboratories, and proved which combination was correct for each system, for each wheel, and for each shoe. Do you know that Raybestos and car engineers sometimes work for a year before they decide on the right combination? PG is the result of all those tests.
Well, how many types are there?
In all, there are 7 distinct types of material in different combinations, each type specifically engineered for a particular car. But here's the big point, from your angle. You don't have to use your shop as a brake proving ground.
Well, that's fine.
Raybestos has done all this expensive work for you, and done it right. They've eliminated your worry about proper selection, which gives your shopmen real confidence in their work.
Well, that'll probably help. But it doesn't answer the question of adjustment trouble.
No, not altogether. You see, Mr. Peck, the human element comes into every job that you do in the shop. Even the best of mechanics can make mistakes. These instruction sheets, right here, they're in every box. They're clear and simple. Of course, a mechanic can become careless and forget to use them, think he knows how to do the job. But if they do use them every time, good mechanics like yours will have very little trouble with adjustments.
Well, you make it sound reasonable. And that would certainly take away one of my headaches. But it doesn't help any on the other. Getting a decent price for the job. That's the tough problem.
I know it. When you boil the whole thing down, people aren't going to argue price with a store if they know that that store handles standard goods at standard prices. The whole thing, as I see it, is a matter of setting up a standard in your shop, sticking to that standard, and backing it up with good salesmanship.
Yes, there's something in what you say. But the trouble is, the average car owner doesn't know anything about brakes or brake lining. As long as they work right, when he needs them, he isn't interested.
Yes, you're right. And he doesn't know anything about the progress that's been made in brake lining since four-wheel brakes came in. It's your job to tell him, as well as sell him.
Well, there doesn't seem to be any doubt about that.
These PG sets give you some real selling facts to help you tell a convincing story about brakes and brake lining, and to let you get a profitable price on every job. The carton itself has customer appeal, and this gold seal not only convinces a customer that he's going to get a quality job, but it's the guarantee to him that he's going to get the correct set right from the factory. But best of all is the PG story itself. I've got something for you. Here's a proving ground chart. Hang it up on the wall. Show it to the customer. You can make him see the point.
Well, at least it gives you something to talk to him about.
And it does sell him. Wait a minute, I've got something else. Here's the story of dozens of other shops who are doing it successfully. Look at this book. Thousands of letters proving that what I say is right. That's why I'm so enthusiastic about PG. Because I know it helps take the guesswork out of brake work. And I know it helps to make sales. And you get your price on every job. It all means profits to you. In short, with PG, you come very close to knocking out those two big bogeys. Price and installation trouble. Isn't that so?
Well, you sure make it sound that way.
And I mean it. I say that you can greatly increase your brake lining service and your profits if you'll do these things. Advertise and feature PG. Make your shop known all over this territory as PG specialists. By specializing in PGs, you can take the time to learn something about them. Know all the selling points. Now, summing up, here are the three big reasons for carrying PG. First, less inventory and quicker turnover. Second, you get the right lining every time. That saves money in the shop. And third, you do a better selling job. Together, they mean better profits. Doesn't that make sense?
Boy, the way you talk profits, you'll have me wearing out 2 of these a week.
Seriously, Mr. Peck, there's one other big point. People know Raybestos. It's easier to sell. You see, Raybestos has been making good lining ever since the days of the first automobile. For 30 years or more, they've been concentrating on making quality lining. Today, Raybestos Manhattan has most of the original equipment business.
Really?
Almost 80% of it. You know why?
No.
Because they have the finest laboratories in the industry. Because they have tremendous plants and resources. Because, in short, they're equipped to turn out any type or combination of lining that the engineers want.
Well, what good does all that do me?
Plenty. It means that most of the cars that drive in to be relined have had fine results from their original brakes. It's easy to sell them on relinings with PG.
How much is all this going to cost me?
I'll be able to tell you that very quickly. Here we are. Here's the price of an assortment that'll give your shop practically every type of lining you need. The low price is one of the beauties of the PG plan.
Well, you got a good story. And I don't mind telling you that I'm interested.
Fine. How about putting PG assortment in now?
Here, now, wait a minute. Not so fast. No, wait a minute. Tell you what I'll do. I'll think it over, and I'll let you know next week.
That's okay with me, Mr. Peck. But this PG assortment represents such a small amount of money, you might as well start getting the profits now. There's no use waiting.
Well, I don't know.
When you sign this Raybestos agreement, the factory will send you signs. All kinds of advertising matter. When these advertising helps get here, use them. You'll find it all means more profits.
Okay. Well, I hope it's going to mean more profits.
It will. Thank you, Mr. Peck.
All right.
You'll find that this is an investment that'll pay you real dividends, particularly if you and the boys do a good merchandising job.
Well, we'll try.
Fine. But there's one thing you've got to remember, though. Just having PG won't help you do the whole job. You have to do 2 things. First, bring customers into your shop so you can tell them the PG story. And second, be able to tell them the story so they'll understand it. Perhaps I can help you with both. Now, to help you bring customers into the store, you have Raybestos National Advertising. Here. I'll show you what I mean. They're in leading national publications reaching millions of people. All this means that the people in your town know Raybestos PG. Now, how are you going to bring them here, to your shop? First, signs. Let everyone who goes by, everyone who comes in, know you're specializing in PG. Second, local advertising, newspaper mats, and direct mail. Keep hammering with these direct mail pieces. Get everyone in town knowing that your place gives real PG service. Then there's novelties. Raybestos has all kinds of them, and they help remind people of your shop. Oh, by the way, Mr. Peck, there's going to be a Raybestos clinic near here soon. If I were you, I'd go to it. You'll get some real good dope.
Well, if it'll help any, I'll be there. If I'm going after PG work, I'm going after it right.
Fine. Goodbye, Mr. Peck.
So long.
Don't give that big bozo too much of that stuff. He can't take it.
Is that so? Thanks.
Now, listen. Cut that out now. This is a friendly meeting. Boys, I'm sorry I had to ask you to stay tonight. I know you had a hard day, but I've got some great dope for you. I wish I'd taken you all with me to the Raybestos clinic last night. You'd have enjoyed it. Now, the next time, we'll all go. Now, we've always sold good brake lines, but now we're going to go a step ahead of that. You know, only a few years ago, we thought all you had to use was one lining and put it on all the brake shoes. But now we know that each individual shoe acts differently against the drum and will do its job better if the lining is selected to suit its action. We put, or tried to put, different types of lining on different shoes. But you know, and I know, that we had to do it mostly by guesswork, by trial and error. That's the only way anybody can find out just which type of lining is best for each shoe of each different brake system. Boiled down, that's all there is to this PG idea. Raybestos is big enough so that they can make, and do make, all kinds of brake lining, woven or molded, with any type or character of friction in it. But their job, just like ours, was to find out just what kind of lining, with just what holding power, was best for each shoe of each system. At the clinic last night, one of the Raybestos men explained just how they arrived at the correct result.
Of course, we're always working with the manufacturers. When a car is first designed, we start to work, figuring out in the laboratory with models and all sorts of special equipment just which types and kinds of lining are required. That gives us a tremendous advantage right there. But after that, the job is to make sure just what each lining will do on the road. Will it wear well? Will it work as good through sandy and gritty roads? When it's hot and rainy in the summer, or when the roads are slippery in the winter? There's only one way to find out these things. So we do just what a service station would have to do. Only we do it on a bigger scale. And we do it with engineers and technical equipment far beyond anything a service station could hope to have. Will it wear well? We take out every type of car, run them for thousands of miles, brake them hard and brake them easy, several times a mile, mile after mile at different speeds. When a lining stands up under this, it'll stand up in anybody's car any time. Then we test out different combinations of linings and find out how they'll stop. We measure these, not once, but hundreds of times, thousands of times. With our instruments, we not only know how quickly a car stops, but we can tell how it stops. Does it grab? Does it fade? Or does the friction build up evenly so that the car stops in as short as possible space with the easiest, most comfortable action? We test them out in water to make sure that the lining we finally pick will give the same service when it's wet as well as under dry conditions. The wrong selection of lining, or a lining of poor quality, may seem to be working on good, dry roads. But here's the acid test. Wet, icy pavements. Only the correct lining, correctly adjusted, will give even, perfect braking under these conditions. Many a driver has found this out too late. Test and check. Check and test. All year round, under all kinds of conditions.
With all that behind us, when we tell a customer that we have just the right type of lining for his job, we can say it with confidence because we're sure it is the right lining. There's a little story here on different types of brakes in common use. The Raybestos engineer explained the action of each of these systems to us. For instance, the three-shoe Bendix.
Each shoe in this brake is different from the others. For forward action, both shoes A and B are effective, but shoe B does most of the work. Therefore, a perfect adjustment of the three-shoe Bendix puts shoe B in even contact with the drum. When that is done, shoe A cannot be further adjusted without throwing shoe B out of line. Therefore, any inequality or unevenness between shoe A and the drum must be taken up in the lining itself. Let's look at the action of different types of lining in this system. Suppose you put a woven lining with give to it on shoe B and on shoe A. If you put a flexible woven lining on shoe B, it affects the whole action of the brake. It's impossible to keep equal adjustment on all wheels, and you're apt to get a grabbing action which can cause plenty of complaints. Therefore, it's absolutely necessary to have a rigid molded lining on shoe B. Now, if you also put a rigid molded lining on shoe A, shoe B will be seated perfectly, but shoe A, as you can see, may not come to its proper seat, and the holding power will be decidedly lessened. And that, as you know, can cause plenty of trouble. Therefore, for a three-shoe Bendix, we supply for each wheel set a piece of rigid molded lining of medium holding power and a piece of woven base, semi-molded lining of the highest holding power for shoe A. Here's how that acts. Shoe A is evenly pressed against the drum because the woven lining has some give to it. Shoe B stays in perfect position. This gives you perfect contact between shoe and drum. Now in reverse. Shoe C does most of the work. Many tests and trials have proven that a woven base, semi-molded lining of the highest holding power is by far the best to give correct action on this shoe. This lining combination and selection of exactly the right holding power is extremely important for this brake. It is the result of long years of experience and testing on this type of brake.
That's only one brake. The selection of lining for all the brakes on all of the cars has been just as carefully worked out as it has been for the three-shoe Bendix. They're all explained in this book here. And I tell you this, boys, if you're going to sell PG, it'll pay every one of us to know what it's all about. To know why we use just the type of PG recommended for each shoe of each brake. Study this book. After you know why we use the lining, the next step is to know how. No matter how good the lining is, if it's not properly adjusted on the car, what's the use? But we can play safe there, too. Use these adjustment charts. Don't think you know all about it. Use them every time, for every car. If you do this, we're going to give our customers perfect brake service. And that means more money to you and more money to me. Now, what do you think?
I think we found something.
Well, boss, if we can't sell this idea, we should try selling peanuts at a ball game.
Great. Well, I think we're all set to go. For the first time since I've been in business, I can hear the word brakes without shivering.
Well, I guess tightening them up some more wouldn't help you any, Mr. Herbert. I've adjusted them just as close as I could. There must be something wrong with your lining. Now, let me pull the wheel, and I'll tell you in a jiffy.
Oh, I'm quite sure the lining is all right. It's practically brand new.
Well, if it is, it'll only take a minute to find out. Something may have happened to it. It's better to play safe, don't you think?
Well, all right. You won't be long, will you?
No, not at all. Hey, jack this up in here, will you?
See, I knew there was nothing the matter with the lining. It's only been in there a couple of months.
Yeah? The lining isn't worn much. But just the same, it won't hold anymore. The trouble is, that wasn't the right kind of lining for this car in the first place. And the friction is all gone out of it.
Worked fine when it was first put in.
Sure, that's what happens to this type of lining. It starts out all right. But because it wasn't the right type of lining for this particular kind of a brake, it soon loses all its friction, all its ability to stop the car. The way you stop is when the brake lining presses against the drum. And the only way it makes you stop is by causing a friction between them. Now, this lining is worn smooth. The friction is all gone out of it. We proved that on the road. There isn't enough friction left to give you safe and certain braking.
What's the new job going to cost me?
Well,
Good afternoon, Mr. Herbert.
Oh, hi.
Joe, take care of that car in the alley, will you?
yes, sir.
Hey, Joe tells me my brakes are all shot.
Well, I think we can fix you up all right. We have exactly the lining for your car here. The Raybestos Proving Ground set. It's been checked and tried out under all kinds of conditions and proved to be the exact set for your car. You know, on some cars, there's a different lining needed, even on the shoes of the same brake. So it's difficult for the shop to pick out the right lining. But with these PG sets, we guarantee you that we're putting on just the lining for your type brake.
You make it sound mysterious. Aren't brakes just brakes after all?
Let me show you on your brake here. Now, this molded piece is rigid. It goes here where you have a solid shoe and where you need a rigid piece of lining. But for this side, we use an entirely different type of lining because the braking action of each side is different. The friction, that is the holding ability, of each of these pieces of lining is worked out exactly to fit the needs of this brake. Now, some shops, they use one lining for all cars. But the engineers found out that you need linings in combination to give safe braking.
How much is it, though?
Here's the price for this job. A standard price that's mighty low for a quality lining like PG.
Holy smoke, that's more than I paid last time. Heard you fellas were good, but you want too much money.
Well, you had one experience with an unsatisfactory job. I could do a lower price job, too, Mr. Herbert. Now, your car is equipped with mighty good brakes. But unless you get the right brake lining combination, they won't last, and you're going to be troubled with bad brakes again in a short time. Now, this set has been worked out by the Raybestos laboratories and the Raybestos engineers. It's been tested under all kinds of conditions. It's been definitely proved on the proving ground as the one set that'll give you the best results on this car.
Well, that's a lot of dough, Peck. I guess I can get a good job elsewhere and for less money.
Well, sometimes the wrong lining costs more money. Well, here's what I mean. Come on, I want to show you. There's a scored drum. It has to be turned down just because the mechanic put in the wrong lining. But with PG, you're sure. The box is gold sealed at the factory. And every piece of lining is silver edged at the factory. That positively identifies it as genuine Raybestos. Now, you know you're getting just the right lining. And I know you're going to get a deal of satisfaction for a good many thousand miles.
Yes, that may all be true, Peck, but just the same, it's more money than I want to pay just to have my brakes fixed.
Well, someday when you have a sudden, quick stop to make, you're going to be awfully glad that you bought this job. Because that stop may mean your safety and the safety of your family. Now, here's another thing. This combination gives you a soft pedal. That means that your wife can stop the car without too much pressure. Again, that may mean your safety, and it certainly means more comfortable driving. A few dollars is little enough to pay for that, now, don't you think so?
Yes, but how do I know they won't go bad on me in a couple of months, just like the last set did?
Well, you see this inspector's card? That means that you not only have the reputation of Raybestos back of this job, but it's also our certificate that the job is right from start to finish. After this job is completed, I give you this card as your insurance. And it's our guarantee that we stand behind every job.
Well, it does look as if you know what you're buying with this.
You get longer mileage, safer mileage, and in the long run, you save yourself some money.
Well, all right, go to it. Can I have it by tonight?
Sure.
All right, I'll call for it.
Nice work, Bob. Say, that was as good a sale as I ever heard.
Thanks, Jane. Go on in the office.
Nice. How's everything going?
Okay.
Fine.
Oh, by the way, I've got something for
Good.
you. Take care of that, will you?
Thanks, Bob. Boy, your PG sales are going good.
They certainly are. And the boys in the shop like PG, too. You know, it's sure taking the guesswork out of brake work. And what's more, we get our price, too.
I really believe you're becoming enthusiastic.
Well, why shouldn't I be? You know, with PG, you can sell everybody who comes in.
Sure you can. That's what you call getting the break.
What?